Growing up, I was inspired to play basketball. It was mostly due to those who played before me, like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, and Allen Iverson. They made the game so exciting to watch because they were so crafted in their skill, yet they made it look like it was so easy to play as well. One night as I was sitting down watching the game, I heard an announcer say, "Basketball is like poetry in motion." At the time, I didn't understand enough about poetry to comprehend what he was saying, but now that I know more about poetry, I decided to test out and see if I could find any similarities between the two. And surprisingly, here's what I found. So to start, a word in poetry will be equivalent to the ball in basketball. So let's just keep building up terms on both sides that are equivalent to each other. Next, we would have a foot would be a dribble. Now a line of a poem would be a player in basketball. So if a line is a player, then a meter would be the type of player. So now how we would consider Steph Curry is a shooter. Diction would be considered as the skill level of the player. Is the player very basic or is he complex in his game? Similar, is the writer basic or is the writer very complex in how they write? The type of foot, iambic, trochaic, and epes, its equivalence in basketball would be the position of the player. So like a shooting guard or a small forward or a center. Now think back. If we refer to a player as a line, a couplet would be two players interacting to do something good. Like a pick and roll, for example, in basketball would be the equivalent of a couplet in poetry. So if a player is a line and a couplet is two players interacting, then a stanza would be the group playing at that moment. Rhythm. The rhythm of basketball will be the bouncing of the ball. This creates the rhythm in basketball. So if the rhythm is the beat of the ball, just as there are different types of rhymes, there are different types of crossovers. So you may have internal, slant, perfect, just as in basketball, the different type of crossover may be through the legs, behind the back, or an in and out. So in poetry, when all of the smaller pieces come together, you have yourself a verse. In basketball, when all of the players are doing the same thing, you have yourself a play. So with a little more variety and a little more freedom, a verse turns into free verse. And in basketball, a play will be simply turned into just improvising. Just as there are different lengths of caesareos in poetry, like a dash, a period, a comma, there are different lengths of breaks or stops in basketball, like a timeout. You have a full timeout or you have a 20-second timeout. There's end of quarters, there's half times, and there's even TV timeouts for the NBA. You can even find some personification in basketball. There's a pretty famous saying that goes, "The ball doesn't lie," or "the ball don't lie," depending on who says it. Just as you have different forms of poetry, like a haiku, a limerick, or a sonnet, you have different forms of basketball as well. You have three-point competitions, slam dunk competitions, you have pickup games, and you have a skill competition as well. The word evocative means bringing strong memories, thoughts, or feelings into the mind. Reading poetry can definitely have this effect on you, so does watching a good basketball game. So as you can see, there are a lot of similarities between basketball and poetry. So whenever that announcer said that basketball is like watching poetry in motion, there's actually a case to be made there.